Sonic Talk.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sonic Talk, episode 549, recording today, live Wednesday, the 12th of September. I think there's some guitar happening in the background. That's a bit musical. Who's playing that music? How inconsiderate on a music technology show. As Rich Hilton there. This is a music technology podcast. We talk about all things to do with music technology, even guitars, but quite often electronic production, music production, just sound reinforcement, live production, all of those kind of things. And today will be no exception, I can assure you. I want to say thank you very much to our sponsors supplying the prize this week. That's iZotope. You can win a copy of VocalSynth 2, which is excellent vocal processing for vocoding, pitch correction, vowel reshaping, all kinds of great stuff. So we'll be a message from them a bit later on. But in the meantime, we're going to say hello to everybody. I'm going to start with Mr. Steve Hillier, because everybody wants to know how he is, because obviously last week Steve joined us from Marbella, where he was in basically the midday sun with no shade, and he had to go out and he had to put like suntan lotion on, hats and stuff, and he's looking okay. Looks like, you know, the new skin growth has come back and the blistering's gone down a bit.
Yeah, the graft has taken. That's certainly true. I was reminded later that afternoon and into the evening of there's a song, I think, from the 1930s and 40s called Mad Dogs and Englishmen.
Yeah, Noel Coward.
And that's how... Yes, right, and that's how I felt. It was just an experiment, though. I thought it'd be nice to do a broadcast from outside, but I hadn't, sort of banked on how incredibly bright and hot it would be, and how incredibly foolish I was being. But hey, I'm indoors now, and I'm back.
You're now
in the UK,
back
and
in the
raining,
shade.
so
That's right. Of course, Steve Hillier, of course, music producer, educator, DJ, songwriter, not many things, but. The right things, doing them the right way. That sounds better, doesn't it? Lovely to have you, Steve. Much enjoyed. And also we have Mr. Rich Hilton, who has been on the road with Chic. In fact, I saw him on telly the other night, where my other half likes to watch Strictly Come Dancing, and there he was. And she said, ask Rich if he's doing another show. See if he can get us tickets, because she's just a massive fan. So, Rich, my rather sly way of sort of saying, hey, how you doing? You doing another show? There were motives. But I'm glad to have you back. How are you, Rich?
I'm good, thank you, and it's great to be back. And there will be more shows.
Cool. I'm glad to hear it. What she meant specifically on Strictly Come Dancing. If you're doing Blackpool, we'll go on the guest.
Not that I know of, or at least not anytime soon, because I think the repercussions of the recent one are still echoing in the canyons of some part of the UK.
Yeah, you got to pick and choose. Pick your choices and take your choice. Of course, Rich, as well as being on the road with Chic, is the studio guy with Nile Rodgers, producer, engineer, synthesist, player, all kinds of stuff. How are you?
I'm good. Real good.
Back. How long are you back for?
I leave tomorrow.
So do I. In fact, I leave tomorrow for New York, but we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, right,
although we can't talk about it.
Passing.
It's kind of one of those weird things. Anyway, thanks for joining us, Rich. And also, good grief, look who it is. It's Mr. Ty Unwin, that media composer who has been locked away in his studio for, I'm trying to think how long, at least 3 months, right?
Yeah, I think June was the last time I showed my head.
Yeah, so you've been kind of busy. Yay! So busy.
It's just been non-stop. It's been a full-on summer, and then last weekend I was doing the proms thing with Midge. So,
I didn't see that. I've got a terrible confession to make.
Right.
I didn't see that. So
you
performed. So that was the Midge orchestral stuff, and you performed that with the orchestra.
Proms in the Park in Belfast in Northern Ireland. So
wow.
It was great. It was great. I mean, I could sit here and fill the next hour just telling you about amusing stories about it and what went wrong. But apart from those, it was great.
That's okay. I remember last time we spoke, you did a live TV thing, and you said you were literally, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, hands above the keys, and suddenly thought, oh my God, I can't remember what I'm supposed to play. Did you have one of those moments?
Yeah. No. It wasn't me this time. The two that are worth sharing were the opening of the opening number, where it's exposed. It's just plucked strings and harp, and the harpist, for reasons unknown to anyone other than herself, decided to play everything in double tempo, which meant that all the chord changes came in the wrong place. It was meant to go bum 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 bum, and she played bum 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 ba-da-dum. So that was hilarious. That won't be shown on the BBC at the weekend. And the other one was me starting Dance with Tears in My Eyes. Walked
literally crying.
No,
And
literally
dancing.
walked onto the stage, started playing, and thought, why on earth can't I hear anything at all? Then realised I hadn't switched my in-ears on. I'm playing with both hands on the piano, trying to switch. I've got my left hand reached up to my right side, trying to switch my in-ears on. Anyone that knows with in-ears, they switch on at 10 rather than 0. So I switched them on, and suddenly I'm still trying to play whilst my ears are now bleeding from the fact I can't hear anything. And then trying to turn it down while still playing with both hands. It was amusing. But other than that, it was perfect.
What a trooper. I am so pleased to hear that. Well, we've got stuff to talk about this week. Probably the first thing is the new Universal Audio Apollo X. And now I've got an exclusive here because we went up to the launch event yesterday at Air Studios. And I've never been there, and I've got to play what we shot. This is just a rough edit, and we haven't got stems audio. All the audio here is stereo mics from in the room. So, if you're kind of going, oh, that doesn't sound like it actually sounds pretty good, but here, let me play it for you. Okay, so we're here at the launch event for the Universal Audio Apollo X, which is a new range of audio interfaces, and they've put on this swanky event at Air Lyndhurst. We can see the lovely brass plaque over here, Air Studios, which is a really, I can't believe I've never been here, really famous studio facility. Got a ton of recording rooms, but most importantly, it's really used a lot for orchestral recordings. We're hopefully going to see the big hall, and they've hired an orchestra to play, and a guy called Davide Rossi, who actually used to play violin for Goldfrapp, who I know, who's arranged the piece. So I haven't heard any of this yet, but hopefully we'll be able to sort of show you what's going on today, because they've let us film our special tour slot, and then later on or in another video we'll probably be showing you a little bit more about the Apollo X interfaces, because they've got some of their guys here. So we're going up the tower, I think, somewhere. So, this is about 4 minutes, by the way, so but just sit back and enjoy it, because I think it's lovely. The band are called Two Door Cinema, by the way, and Jackknife Lee is producing.
It might be too late. What would you say? What would you say? What would you do?
This is the band actually recording live in the room through the UAD stuff, through the nice unisons and all that kind of thing. And this is what we got to witness, which was very special. I'll tease it there. There's not much left, but that I have to say that was just such a brilliant experience. Great way to launch the whole thing. And what they were doing is we went through 20-minute tours, and we were all shown. The first studio was us, kind of, with Fabio, who does a lot of their, or Fabian, I think, who does a lot of their product demos, just saying, oh, here's the beginnings of the track. Then the next bit was them tracking with Jackknife Lee, and then there was the recording. So yeah, the news that the Apollo X has come out, and it's a brand new platform. They've updated a lot of things about it, and it was cool. I'm going to go to both of you guys first, because if I start with you, Ty, because you've done those kind of recording sessions. Have you ever done any sessions at Air? Because I that was a completely
No, I haven't. No. I haven't done Air. Air's a fantastic place. It's a lovely sound. I've been to Air, obviously, but I've never done any sessions there. But if you've never experienced an orchestral session, it's a special thing. As long as you're not actually the one whose work's being done and you're onto a time limit, then in which case then you don't enjoy it in the slightest. But yeah, it's great. I mean, and that all sounds wonderful. It all looks wonderful. And the Apollo stuff, I mean, I'm an absolute UAD freak. So when I was upgrading my system last time, it was down to either doing the UAD system with the preamps, or in the end I went with the RME MADI rig. But it was really close which way to go. But I've got multiple UAD boxes. I couldn't live without them now. So the only question with this is the fact that they still limit going up to 6 processors in this, and I don't quite understand why they don't go for the full 8 like they do in the Octo. I don't kind of get that. If you're paying, you're buying the top of the range one, whether it be the 16 or the 8 with the preamps, why don't they put the 8 processors in like they do with the Octo? Why only 6?
I'm not sure. I can give you a little bit of background because I talked to Gannon, who's the product manager now, and he basically said they've updated all of the kind of inside. So it's got 2 clocks, it's got a new FPGA, which means it can handle more I/O, more DSP. So I suspect it might even go further than 8 now that they've added this extra headroom into the system, but I don't know. So I can't answer that question fully. I know, Rich, I don't know if you're a UAD user or not. I mean, I think it seems like so many people are. I mean, there's literally, they really have kind of sold a lot of UAD Apollo systems, whether it's the little twins or the 8Ps or the whatever. I mean, and it seems like they're really going for just wiping out any of the other competition by putting it all in the same box, and you can run that. I think they ran 4 of those 16Xs, which have 64 inputs at 32 milliseconds latency on an iMac Pro for that string section, for recording that session.
Wow, that's impressive. Do I use their gear? Yes, I have an Octo card on this desk and a quad card elsewhere. And I like their software very much, and I quite enjoyed seeing this video. What a beautiful place. And we've done orchestral work, but not in a long time. But in any case, this looked like a heck of a nice evening, and boy, they spent some money, didn't they?
They sure did. I'm just trying to think if there was anything else we got. Yeah, we came away with some swag. I got some Universal Audio socks. Andy got a cushion and a nice leather. We went there and we were sort of, because they're, full disclosure, they're clients of ours. They advertise with us, and it's great. But we were sort of thinking, oh well, maybe we should talk about budgets and stuff. And then we thought, there's no point. Look at what they've just spent there. I mean, it was a great event though, really, really great event. But and I think the thing is, it must show that how successful the concept is, because they must be shifting a lot of them to be able to do that kind of stuff. So I mean,
absolutely. And Gannon, by the way, is a great guy, and I've known him
really nice guy,
decades ago and many companies ago, and he's just a wonderful, kind, and smart audio professional that you love to deal with.
Absolutely. But it's an interesting idea. So essentially this new platform allows them to go further and to go higher and to have more. And they've got now they've got 2 clocks in it. So they've got 2 crystals, one that's at 44.1 and one that's at 48. Whereas before, lots of interfaces have 1. And then through maths, they changed the clocking. Whereas this, they've just got, if you're going multiples of 48, then use that chip, that clock, and if you're doing 44.1 multiples, you do use the other one, which is probably a good thing. And the jitter apparently is down to, what did he say? It was like 8 picoseconds across all the inputs, which I'm told is pretty good, but I don't know. Steve, are you a UAD guy?
No, I'm the odd one out here. I chose Slate a few years ago.
Okay.
And it works out well for me. It suits me because I tend to move around a lot, and I can stick it with my laptop and have very little amount of gear with me. That aside, this does look really nice, and I have used UAD at various times in the past. There was something I just wanted to mention. There's quite a lot of emphasis being played on the quality of the preamps in these new cards, and that's something that I think that synthesizer guys often overlook. And we've already spent so much money on our toys that to just get in a piece of equipment that makes the input louder seems like a bit of a waste. But I can assure everyone here, it just changes the nature of the relationship you have with your instrument, especially the older analog instruments. If you've got a nice preamp between you and a really decent analog to digital card, the instrument just breathes. It comes alive. It makes a lot of difference, and it's a kind of difference that I haven't found another way of getting that into a recording other than just through a really good preamp. So, yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, one of the we spoke to Jackknife Lee, who was the producer working with the band, the Two Door Cinema, and that big room that we shot where the guy was singing in the corner, the whole band was coming directly into the Apollos, being processed through Unison and through real-time plugins. So they actually sounded like it was a record already. And then the 2-bus was being monitored on the I think it was a Neva or an SSL in there. I can't remember which it was. And that's what we were hearing. And it kind of sounded like a record. And yet there they were, the other side of the glass, putting it down, and that was what was really impressive. It's just that the fact that it's all real-time process. I mean, yeah, they had, I don't know how many thousands of dollars worth of audio interfaces in there, but the whole thing was done that way. And Jackknife came up afterwards and said that I'd caused him a lot of expenditure buying synthesizers, which was really nice because I've not met him before, and it's always good when they do that within earshot with the really big shots as well, and someone comes over and says, hey, I know you, and it's like good for the ego. But yeah, so they're all coming out. I mean, I think they're available now. I don't know if people are going to upgrade. It's the sort of thing that you would. I think they're obviously going for same DSP, but the I/O is the differential. So that's what you're paying for. And the 16X is the one that they've added a little extra dynamic range in, and that's the one that they're looking to put as your sort of to record stuff like orchestras, because it's got 133 dB of dynamic range apparently.
But it's got but that's got no preamps on that one, hasn't it?
No, it takes
preamps.
line level. It takes line level, yeah.
So that means it doesn't have unison.
No, so the idea is you plug it into your Neve or your whatever else you're using. Yeah. And then
I mean, I have to admit, if I was going to buy a system right now today, having seen those, that's what I'd buy.
Right.
I mean, simple as that, really. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my RME rig. It's great, but right today I would go down that route.
Yeah. Well, an interesting one. But it was just such a great day. So we will have another a video where we talk to Gannon about the technical details, and it's quite an interesting video as well. So hopefully that'll be up soon. But yes, I wanted to start with that because it's kind of a big deal, and they spent so much money on it. I figured we ought to cover it at least. But that's where it is. No other cash changed hands. We paid for our own travel, I should add. Right. So yeah. Hey, look at this. Here's another big release. Yeah, it's that time of year. It's the Native Instruments Complete 12, or nearly complete, almost complete, and totally complete, I think is perhaps a better way of putting it. There we go. Oh, you could say now, what was it we worked out? There's 4 versions of this. It's complete time, basically. There's complete select, which you could probably call incomplete. There's complete, which you could call almost complete, and complete 12 ultimate, which you would call complete, and then complete collector's edition, which is absolutely everything. I'm being flippant here, but this is quite a big deal for a lot of people, and a lot of people use Native Instrument stuff. And I do have to say, I don't use a lot of virtual stuff and a lot of sample things, but whenever I run anything up in specifically battery, and I'm just playing some drum sounds, the quality of their samples, it really does stand head and shoulders above a lot of the other stuff, So that's something I would say. But I know I guess I don't know. Rich, are you a complete user? I'm guessing you are. You must use some of this sort of stuff in the productions you do. I mean, certainly you can't always
all
find...
the time.
Yeah, exactly. I know you use a lot of Scarby stuff. Yeah. Is this a big day? You're going to be upgrading?
I live in contact a lot in the sample end of my life.
Will you be
even
upgrading?
In some synthesis moment, even in some synthesis stuff, there's some outstanding synthesis stuff that's been done in there as well, but mostly in the sample world. Yeah, I love their stuff. And what you just said about battery, I think also has to do. There's some kind of thing with the audio path coming out through and out of battery. It's just remarkably clear and punchy. Battery is, and I like using that where appropriate, and I like using I use their synths. I have been using it for well over a decade. It's fantastic. It's great stuff. Some of their string sounds are very, very appropriate to the styles we do, which is kind of hard to find, believe it or not, because most of it is too big, too thick, too grandiose, too, symphonic for our purposes. We're usually dealing in smaller section sounds and drier situations, and I find their stuff is great. A lot of the stuff written for it is great. And I like Reactor a lot. I love Reactor. I like playing in Reactor. I got all kinds of great things for Reactor. Some of it's Tim Exile stuff and some of it's other stuff, and I love it. Yeah, I use it. I do think that their yearly upgrade path is a little expensive. I have to say this out loud. It just strikes me as a lot of money to ask people to keep re-upping what is substantially the same stuff plus whatever 25% or 30% or whatever they want to claim that it is. But it seems like a lot of money to me on an upgrade basis. That's just my only. If I have a gripe, that's it. For the casual user who's not.
Yeah, I would say that's probably true.
Stuff dropping that kind of money every time they come up with a new complete seems like a lot to me. I think they could be kinder to their users financially.
Well, maybe so. I mean, I guess 12, Steve. That must be 12 times they've done it. So 12 years. I know there's also news about the new Massive X, which is an addition to the library, and Contact 6, which is being updated. And you specifically mentioned Contact X at Massive X.
Yeah,
I mean, are you a user, Steve? I mean, is that something that you?
Yeah. I Massive had a massive impact on my workflow when it came out. 11 years ago? It was the first time that I heard a software synth, and it had like a new sound. I don't mean new in terms of synthesis. It meant it just had an extra weight. It had an extra clarity. It was, I think, it was pointing a finger towards the future sound of software synths, and I think that actually has proven to be true in terms of quality. When I first saw this press release, I got really excited, and I think I must have dreamt a whole load of new facilities in Massive 10.
Yeah, because there's nothing's been leaked. There's no information.
No, exactly. I checked this before I came on air today, and I was thinking, so where are those modulation facilities? Where are those abilities to draw wavetables? So I'm afraid I don't have any insight on this, but I can say what I would like to see, and I would like to see some kind of facility within Massive to create wavetables. So a bit like what we have in Serum, but we've got that in Serum. So I'm hoping for something else, maybe it would be some sort of combination of making a wavetable whilst also, adding some additive synthesis. I know we have a version of that in Serum already, but something beyond that. And also, one thing I really would like to see in a wavetable synthesizer, at the moment, the amount of frames in the wavetable seems to be limited to 256, which makes sense. Your word lengths in computing. What I'd really like is to see a wavetable that is significantly longer than that. So you could take a sample, let's say that's 1 or 2 seconds, or maybe 10 seconds, or even a minute. Who knows? Who cares? But you could use each cycle within that sample as a frame within the wavetable. And so now wavetable synthesis becomes a bit like the sort of granular synthesis that you find in Native Instruments Form, where you can move around a sample. And but I'm thinking not that kind of resynthesis sound you get in Form, more that deep clarity that Massive has, and also Serum has as well. So I'm dead excited. I'm looking forward to my next dream about the facilities.
Yeah, I like I said, I don't use a lot of it, but when I do hear it, I always think, oh, that sounds great. It's just that I'm not really a guy that uses a lot of virtualism. I'm guessing Ty, certainly if not complete, but contact, forms a big part of your daily workflow, right?
Yeah. I can't remember the last time I did anything that didn't use contact. I mean, it is part of my life completely. And to be fair, Complete I've had Complete since version 1 and done every single update to every Ultimate write-up. And it's true what Rich says, really, in that I totally understand. It's hard because is it expensive? I mean, it is quite expensive. It's not every year normally. It's about 18 months to 2 years, but it's only because they do shove a new load of libraries in. But my argument is always the fact that if you want those libraries desperately, you buy them when you need them. In other words, when they come out, you buy them. And the one thing that they don't do is, I mean, as I found, I think the last one or the one before, I bought a whole load of libraries, but they then don't take that into account when you update. So I was ending up, I think it was the last
paying
one,
twice,
one before.
Right.
I ended up paying whatever it was, £400 or something to update for basically two very small libraries. But I wanted to I needed the extra version of Contact. So it's not cheap. But what I do now, unless I'm absolutely desperate for a library, I literally just sit there and just go, okay, I'll just wait for the next Complete. So this one will kind of make sense for me because all the latest lot of Complete libraries, if I'm honest, don't really do it for me. But I'll buy the update anyway, so they get all the latest. But I mean, as a system, if I'm talking to anyone about starting out or want to take it to the next level, every single day of the week buy Complete, and if you can, Complete Ultimate, because my argument is if you can't write good music and get good music out of one of the Complete bundles, the problem is with you, not with the gear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey Nick,
It's true,
may I
though.
revisit this
It's
real
true.
quickly?
Yeah, sure.
It absolutely is. I'm seeing information in the chat room that leads me to believe that I was unduly harsh with them on their upgrade fees, and perhaps I was misinformed about the actual cost.
Okay.
Now I'm seeing the third figure being quoted now, but it's not quite as big as I thought it was, and maybe it's not quite so unfair, especially when it's not every year. It's pretty much every 18 months to 2 years. So
No, fair enough.
I want to back off a little bit on my assessment of them as being unfair to their customers, because it doesn't seem like that's the case.
That's all right, Your Honour.
And if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind mentioning something as well. First of all, I completely agree with Ty. When I first got the Complete Ultimate, one of the first things I was thinking was, right, if what I do now is no good, it's not my tools. That excuse is gone. But I just wanted to mention one of the reactor synths that comes in Complete, which has been my sort of go-to synth for a few years now. It's Contour, which is the FM synth that isn't FM8. It's really good, and it does FN synthesis in a way that which is unique. I've not found it anywhere else. You can play with the phases of the operators, and there's only 2. But you can generate that entire spectrum of FM sounds, everything from the big techno basses to the tinkly pianos if you want. But then there's a kind of an extra organic feel to it. There's
Right.
something else going on, and I just thoroughly recommend people try it out. I love it.
Well, that's basically the engine that was used in is it the C12? Do you remember that really esoteric instrument?
That's right. Stefan.
The C12?
Stefan
Yeah.
Schmidt. Yeah.
But that is basically that engine, and is in that. So all of the synths, honestly, in Complete, all of the synths have their own character, and they're all fantastic in their own way. It's
Monarch is pretty great too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, Monarch is fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I reviewed Monarch, and it is very, and that's a reactor ensemble, isn't it? Monarch, I think. Yeah,
it is.
I mean, it is astonishing, and yeah, I guess the thing is it's difficult. We've talked about this before, isn't it? Because some of the tools are priced for professionals, such as your good selves, but many of us or many users are not professionals, so it's a difficult. You can't charge people different things based on how professional they are. So it's kind of a tricky one, really.
But it's nice to see them stratifying different levels at which people can enter this world. And that's a smart thing for them to do. And they have made it cheaper for people to get on board with it. So that's cool too.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Let me see. There was some other thing. Oh yeah, there's a couple of things actually. A couple of quick. There's a couple of teasers coming up. Which I'll tell you what. We'll do the isotope competition, then we'll come back with that. That's a meta tease there, right? Oh, how about that? Right. So Isotope, of course, very kindly sponsored the show with a copy of Vocal Synth 2, which is all new reworked vocal processing suite of plugins. New BioVox, which allows you to do vocal tract modeling like vowel reshaping, multi-band vocoder, improved vocoder algorithms, new effects, CompuVox, new GUI, more effects, as I said, and they can be reordered. Lots and lots of new patches and really brilliant stuff for if you want to process vocally and get some really modern and unusual and interesting vocal sounds. I mean, you don't have to just use it on vocals, you can use other stuff as well. So vocal synth, isotope.com/vocal synth will get you where you need to go. And of course, we had a competition last week, which was we asked for what was it, textural vocals and the hashtag VocalSynth2, and we got a winner who is at Rob X Loxley. He just says, I'll run everything through this and see if a record comes out the other end. So Rob X Loxley, your Twitter handle, please get in touch. You have won Vocal Synth, so you can try that out. And of course, we have a competition for this week, and we're looking for the hashtag Extreme Vocals and the hashtag VocalSynth2. Tweet that to @SonicState and @Isotope Inc. Yeah, it's a Twitter competition. It's pretty easy to do. The hashtag Extreme Vocals, one word, and the hashtag VocalSynth2, one word, to @SonicState and @Isotope Inc. And you'll be entered to the competition. I was talking about teasers. Yeah, we got Roland of Teased event, which is tomorrow. Music Connect, I think it was last year or the year before, they did this massive pan-global streaming event where they were throwing out things like, changing the face of music production, all those sort of things. They're not going quite heavy on the superlatives, but we've got an event tomorrow which will unveil stuff in the drum and synth categories, which is, again, it's an interesting move because I think it's good just before Christmas or just or before NAMM. I wonder what people might want to see from that. I know it wasn't necessarily in the topics, but it's a fairly general sort of thing, so it might have a thing. Ty, you thinking maybe a new boutique? What do you reckon? You need another one.
In the chat room. No, I don't need another boutique. What can they boutique? Now, I wouldn't maybe mind Jupiter 4 maybe boutique.
Interesting idea.
Possibly.
That's probably would fit.
But apparently in the chat rooms, it looks like someone seems to be quite adamant that there's going to be a System 16. If that happens, I will. Ooh. You know that I love the System 8, so I'll definitely be buying one of those. And the JDX-A2, which I'm less enamored. I thought the JDX-A was a bit the
the tagline could be, "This time we'll get it right." Oops, yeah, did I say that out loud?
No, that's basically it. Yeah. Well, whereas the 16, if they give it, if they do it, the 16 voice, obviously, 5-octave keyboard, aftertouch, all of that, fill it with some new models, then that's a no-brainer for me. That would be fantastic.
Oh yeah, the System 16. I think the system. I would just like to point out, I meant the XA, not the System 8. System 8,
no, absolutely. Oh god, the XA is just I don't know how they could quite have got it so. It was en route. It was en route, wasn't it? It was just if you had a line of stalls, it fell in between every single stall possible. It was just did absolutely zilch for me.
I don't know. Yeah. Well,
other than that, what I would also like is because I've got some of the V drums, and I've heard say there's going to be another digital pad, which is, unless you're a V drum man, that's completely boring, but another digital pad, like a digital hi-hat pad, that would be great. So that's kind of, and boutique wise, just they're going to come out and
what about a boutique maxi? Boutique maxi, which is boutiques but all just a little bit bigger for people like us who can't see very well. And that'd be great. Boutique, just a little bit bigger. There's a great tagline. They can have that for nothing. Definitely. Steve, what would you like to see?
Two things. I want to see another analog synth. I've got the SEO2 just over here, which I use every day, and I love it. I think it's a great machine. Another analog would be maybe some sort of polysynth. I don't know whether you could fit, 4 or more voices into that form factor. I don't know, but if you could, I would definitely buy it. The other thing I'd like to see, but I don't want to see it this week, because I'm selling one on eBay right now, is a boutique recreation of the JP8000.
Wow. Can you?
I
mean, the JP8 is hard enough in boutique. A JP8000 has got even more faders, hasn't it?
Well,
Is that,
if it
will
comes
that even
with
work?
like a stylus or a set of tweezers, it would be absolutely fine.
Just a load of dip switches.
Yeah, something like that. But it's something that I thought, I'd love to see in a boutique size for a long time. I really like the sound of the 8000. It's a bit lifeless and superseded in a lot of ways, but it touches something.
You're selling it.
I think it's because I'm an old trance DJ.
Yeah, I don't know.
just
Maybe
want a smaller version.
What do you reckon about a JV1080 boutique?
No.
No? Okay,
I
fair enough.
have one of those.
Just pretend I didn't say that. This is a live show, so I can't edit it out, but I might edit it out in the in the final when it comes to YouTube. Cricket's tumbleweed. Rich, let's move swiftly on. Say something that covers my embarrassment, if you don't mind.
About what things I want to see?
Yeah, what would you
I
like to
wanna
see Roland do?
I want to see them put the sounds I use on stage in one of their new keyboards, so I don't have to keep looking for something else to replace the one that's getting old in the tooth. And they know it. They know it. I would like, on behalf of my colleague on stage, to see a small vocoding product that works for him. And I think they may have one, but I'm not 100% sure. Not really wanting for instruments that much. More stuff that's easily MPE adaptable would be nice. But other than that, I don't have any big product ideas for them.
Are you sure, everybody, that you wouldn't like to see a full-size analog-ish, not that it ever was, TR-909?
Jonathan Davis from Music Group Innovation in Manchester.
See what I did there?
Oh, no.
Unveil the RD909 to the general public.
Oh, no.
Now, this is the very first 3D printed prototype that we've done. As you can see, we've still got some ideas of what we'd like to add. We've got no...
I won't play the whole thing. I mean, this was really... This wasn't so much about the fact that it's Behringer doing their thing. This was 909 Day. That was a video from Knobcon where the excellent Jim Hayward, who runs Synth Memes Facebook group, went out and he shot a load of videos. All the stuff that you're seeing there, he shot and he uploaded. He's done a fantastic job. It was more, it seems that the world goes crazy when you say that. I mean, whether it's Behringer or whoever, an analog, whatever it is. But I'm really struggling to understand why something that is essentially a replication of, that, which is, old technology. And yeah, it may sound great and it may be all fine. And I don't have anything against the fact that it's Behringer. But why does everybody freak out about that sort of thing? I really don't understand it. It feels like a kind of a really unadventurous and unusual, unusable. Not an unusable, but I just don't get it. I'm going to go to you first, Steve, because I know, you, like me, you came up through the generation where we would use a 909 kick pretty much on every remix, every track, because it just did that thing. It moved the generation of sort of club sound systems in the right way for the crowd, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Gosh, why do people get so excited about these things? I was thinking about this earlier. I think that there's a lot of younger people rediscovering the sounds, the techno sounds, the electronic music sounds of the 80s and 90s. And they weren't there. And part of the process of discovering this old music is discovering the instruments that made it. And, the reason why we're all here today, we all love musical instruments. We're, obsessive to a healthy degree about them. And I think that maybe the interest in a 909 or 808, 606 and all that is tied in with this discovery of older electronic music. I think maybe there's an aspect of a romance from these old instruments because they were physical. And so many of the instruments that the younger generation have now are digital, as in software. I think that's possibly it. At least it's part of it. What I have a difficulty with, though, as an older gentleman now, is that I remember I remember actually seeing a 909 for the first time in Soho Synth House in Soho Square in London, looking at it and thinking, wow, this is amazing. I'd love one of these. What journey we could go on with this. And it felt like this was an instrument that took us to uncharted territory. And that was one of the things that really turned me on about electronic music. You could go, in a sense, to places where nobody else has gone to before.
Because it hadn't been out for 35 years, yeah.
Well, precisely. And so now we're going around in circles. We've got so many people either recreating almost perfectly the sound of the 80s and early 90s. We're no longer facing to the future. We're trying to recreate the sound of that sort of perceived glory day. And I find that disappointing. I'd rather that our attention as producers, electronic music producers, was focused on going somewhere new. And that's why I won't be buying one of these.
Yeah, oh, that's fair enough. I know, Rich, I don't know, as the future suddenly becomes so bright that you've got to wear shades, but it's curious, isn't it? And it's, I wonder, you're muted. I wonder if it's the to do with just a base human instinct. You know, it's not that anybody, it's just in the same way that, you know, if you use certain fonts and if you use certain imagery, you know, you get better sales. It's like, it's just, this is what you do to make sales because the human condition requires you to buy this kind of stuff or desire it.
If you play a guitar with Stevie Ray Vaughan's name on it.
Yeah, that sort of thing, yeah.
You know.
Phone?
Hi there.
Hello.
Sorry, I couldn't be here to take your call right now. Please. Anyway,
sorry, that was the 1980s.
I've probably said once or twice on this show across the many years I've been on it that romance is a powerful thing. And it's alluring to think that you can sound more like something that you heard growing up and loved by using the same devices that those people used. It's tempting, and it's actually, it makes a whole bunch of sense on some sort of strictly logical level. But whether or not you actually need that in order to do that is another conversation. And one example that came up in my life was I was asked at one point in my career to remake Harold Faltermeyer's original Axel Foley theme for a subsequent version of the Beverly Hills Cop movies. And I sure as hell didn't surround myself with a room full of analog gear and an Oberheim sequencer or whatever he used in order to do that. I did it with the gear I had. A lot of the synthesis came out of a Kurzweil K2000, as a matter of fact. But I'm not that romantic about most gear, and the gear I am romantic about tends to be more in the world of transducers like microphones and audio gear like consoles and things like that. Synthesizers don't make me quite so romantic, but I'm in the minority around here on that. And I do, like I say, I don't mean anything denigration, derogatory when I say that romance is a powerful thing, but people are just trying to get back into what stimulated them and made them excited about it in the first place, and they're trying to use tools like those.
It's interesting.
As simple as that.
I get it. It's interesting as well because stuff like the 909. I mean, the 909 kick drum coming out and just coming, out naked is nothing like the sound you would have ended up with in a record. It had a lot of processing, generally speaking, on it. I know, Ty. I mean, this isn't really necessarily, like I say, it's not really about Behringer. I mean, they're going to do what they do, and that's what they do. It's more just this sort of fixation. It's kind of an interesting side of things.
I completely. I love the way that you come to me and basically introduce it with this isn't about Behringer, so don't start. Okay. I'm the only one you've done that with. Yeah, I'm the only one. Don't go there. But I mean, I will go there a little bit. Look, anyone that knows me knows my feelings about the whole Behringer bandwagon and all that kind of crap. So I'm not going to really hard con about this. The one thing that I will say is I honestly think that the kind of the clone or the copy or the whatever you want to call it, I think that bubble is really either about to burst or it has burst, because when this started and everyone was living in the past, when it came to synth world and kind of rolled into there with the little boutique stuff, and kind of before that people were trying to recreate the TB303 and doing all that kind of stuff. It was new, it was novel, and people were jumping on it going, hey, great, I can have the sound of and I think now people are starting to get bored with it. I think people are now going, hang on a minute, we've spent the last how many years just recreating the past. Please, for God's sake, someone actually come up with something forward thinking and moving things on. And I think there will always be the classics that occasionally now and again will make it in. But you see, this is the thing, exactly like you said. For me, the TR-9 909 is not a classic. I had one for years, and it is the most. It's so overrated as a drum machine. Don't forget, the same as the 303, there was a long period where people would not touch them with the barge pole because they sounded crap. And kind of the sound that we now see, because it took off because of techno, and that's great. But as you said, that so much of that is processing. And so the 909 for me is not a classic. It isn't. The 808 is more of a classic. But even so, compared to what we can do now, they're both rubbish. Realistically, they're both rubbish. We can do so much more with so much more forward-thinking technology, or retro technology that's taken on a different slant. And that I have more time for. I have things, things like DRM1 and and the Electron stuff. All of that, you can get the kind of 808 and 909 sounds, but you can then take them places. And I've got a TR8, so. I don't know. I just have a bit of an issue. The whole cloning thing, I really think has reached its peak. If you want me to say my 2 bits about Behringer, I think the way I think the way they introduce stuff, the way they do stuff is all just wrong. The way they just copy everything is wrong. They have all these fantastic engineers up in Manchester, really incredibly talented people, and really all they've used these guys to do is produce the DeepMind, which is a copy of a Juno 106, and the Neutron, which is the only thing they've come up with which is genuinely new and interesting, and it's absolutely far and above the best thing that they do. Everything else they're doing, all these clones they're developing, including the 909, the 808, all that kind of thing, I couldn't give a flying about them. If you want to buy them, great, but I have no interest in them whatsoever.
Okay, I'm glad we cleared that up.
So what if their participation in the romance market finances stuff like the Neutron?
Yeah, I agree, and I think, to be fair,
that's a fair point.
To be fair, I think you're very harsh on the DeepMind 12. The DeepMind 12 started as an homage or an idea of a cloning of 1H, but it's nothing like it, apart from it's got 2 DCOs and some sliders. Everything else about it is completely different. There isn't anything else that's similar. I mean, it doesn't really sound all that much like a 106, or can, but it was inspired by that interface. So I think that's probably, and I think it's a good synth. So there we go. I just wanted to say that. But
that's okay.
Okay. Well, how about Steve? We did come to you, didn't we, Steve? Yeah. So I'm just I'm losing track of myself. I'm getting a little bit.
I just wanted to throw actually another thing in here, just building on what Ty was saying about the recreation of these old synthesizers. This bubble was going to burst. I think you're probably right, Ty. But I also wonder just how many people who would buy this drum machine or the TR-09, the boutique version, listen to it and think, this doesn't sound exactly like a 909. Do you know? It's like what you were saying, Nick, about how the 909 kick on a record does not sound like a 909 coming out of the machine. And I just wonder whether are these customers ever really being satisfied or served with these recreations? And if they're not, maybe it's time for us all to move on.
Yeah, well, that's a fair point.
But the reality is, you're right there, but the reality is that most of the people that buy these have never owned a 909. And so they don't really know. It's what they're told. They're told this looks like a 909, so is a 909. It's like do you remember Rebirth? When people had Rebirth all those years ago, because the interface was based on a 909 and 808, people grew up, youngsters grew up thinking that's what a 909 and an 808 was. So it's like if the manufacturers tell them enough that it looks like a 909, it sounds like a 909, that's what they perceive a 909 to be. Does that make sense? I mean, I guess so.
Yeah, it does. And I think it. Sorry, Nick. I think it does make sense, and I think this is the thing that troubles me, because I think that the effects of these, manufacturers putting out recreations of this song, it changes the culture of electronic music. It changes. It could be a trivial thing, like going from having an experience of a TR-808 and then using Rebirth and thinking Rebirth is the real thing. But there's more than that. It's constantly recreating these units, is turning producers' vision backwards. It's turning it to the past. I really think we should be facing forward and moving on from these sounds.
Okay.
But then again, I haven't had a cup of tea in half an hour.
Okay, well, I think we could probably debate that for a while, but I just thought it was interesting, and I'm sure it will do well. And I suppose the one thing I would say over the boutique TRO 909 is a cute thing, and I think that the format works well. But I think you haven't got direct output, so it's harder without going via USB direct output and processing in a DAW channel to get that sound. I guess at least with something that has individual outputs, you got to bet you could do it analogically if that's what you want to do, but you're going to have to find out how to do it. Of course, if we're talking about retro, what about just different colours? 10 years, eh? 10 years since the original Nanos came out, and to celebrate the fact, Korg are doing some colour variants, which, you know, I mean, I don't ordinarily get very excited about this, but I really would quite like one of those orange and black Nano controls. And they're doing a limited edition. I don't know how limited it is. You get a 20% discount off Korg Gadget as well, Nano Series 2, and they've also got some nice cases as well. I'll point out, I use this every day, or most days, but I also wanted to find, because I was looking back, because we originally reviewed the Korgs, and this is what I looked like when we used to do that.
Control. It's the
not that much different, thinner and much more pixelated.
It's dedicated transport control.
That's the first Nano control.
And rotary knob.
So there we go. I'm quite into this, and I don't know why. And I've got a Keystep Black, which I quite like the fact that I've got that. I mean, it's just a bit different. Do you think there's much in that, though? I mean, because some people like to have something a little bit different. I'll start with you, Rich. I suppose it doesn't make all that much difference, but it's nice to have something that you that's just a little bit different to everybody else sometimes. I mean, we're not talking about romance here. It's just individuality in a sort of consumerist sense.
Let me make sure I'm on.
You are. I can confirm you're switched on.
You don't have to take a shot yet. Products in this kind of price range these days come in colors.
Yeah, that's true.
Go to the Apple store or go to anybody. Look at phones. Look at phone covers. Look at just stuff in this sort of low-end plastic price range tends to come in a multitude of colors, and you get to choose your own and make yourself feel more attached to your device by thinking that it reflects your personality. So, is it surprising that Korg has done this? Absolutely not. It's very inexpensive to do. It's the same device they've already designed anyway, and they might sell more of them, especially as we approach Christmas time. So,
yeah, okay.
Smart thing.
My God, Rich, I don't know why I didn't think of that. That's actually, I'd forgotten about the Christmas thing. It feels so early to be thinking about Christmas market, but you're absolutely right, of course.
This is the toy market, man. There are going to be tons of these things under people's virtual Christmas trees. There
are, and you'll be able to have a really nice sort of pencil case for it as well. I quite like the look of that. I don't know why. I think when they came out, it's hard to forget. It's easy to forget, rather, that they caused a big stir, these things, when they first came out. I don't know, Steve, whether you had. I mean, they were the most affordable MIDI controllers, weren't they? I mean, by some long way.
I have a few of them here in the cupboard, and I use them. I really like them. You know, just thinking about these colourful units, I remember as a kid, I read an interview by a band called Blancmange, and they were asked what made them choose the synthesizers that they chose. And somebody, I think it may be Stephen in the band, said, "We choose the synthesizers for how they look." And I remember thinking at the time, that's daft. Surely they're just having a laugh. Now, I know exactly what they mean. There's something about how a synthesizer looks that has a real effect on my experience with it in hardware and in software. It's one of the reasons, I mentioned it before, it's one of the reasons why I've still got, well, at the moment, 2 and soon to be 1 JP8000s. Sounds not great, but I just love the way it looks. With that in mind, you know, producing a range of colourful Nano controls is great, and that's my Christmas sorted effectively. So well done, Korg.
Yeah, I suppose so. Ty, I now, if I remember correctly, when we did that last Sonic event, did you not bring a couple of Nano controls?
Yeah, there were a couple. Yeah. They're part of my. They go everywhere with me. They're part of my travel rig, and they're great. I mean, look, for what they are absolutely fantastic. And the whole color thing. I mean, you see, I'm all for kind of limited editions and buying strange colors. You know, there's a reason that why I bought the mini lug. You know, I went for the red instead of the silver or the black, or I've got a white Voyager XL or a white Virus, and so I'm all into that, completely into that. My only issue with this lot is the fact that the colors they've chosen are hideous. You know, I look at that, the black with yellow and orange, or the black with blue and, is it blue and purple? And I just don't relate to the colors. But if they were nicer colors, I would quite happily buy them. But the colors just don't really do.
Okay,
do you know what I mean?
I'm going to ask you, what colors should they be that would attract your attention?
Do you know if they had some red in there? I think
I knew
you know
it.
What I mean, I just see some red in there somewhere, or some pink.
The LEDs are red. The backlit buttons are red.
Exactly, they match. You see, I'm all into matching now. All I'm going to look at that is put my gay head on and look and just turn around and go, "Oh, that yellow and orange really doesn't go with the red LED."
Well, maybe not. I think they're orange. I think these ones are orange LEDs actually. On the orange one, they're orange LEDs or orange knob caps, and on the black and blue, they're red. So you know.
I think the idea of them, and I mean, Korg are very good at this. Let's be honest about this. What they tend to do is when a product gets to not the end of its life, but almost the end of its life, they do the whole limited edition thing to make people buy a few more, and it's great. They've brought out some brilliant ones over the year. I mean, they've had the odd mistake. Do you remember the camouflage? Which was the camouflage one? Not the X5, the camouflage, the one with the handles down the side. What was that one?
Blimey, I don't know.
Yeah.
Chat room will know.
That was a mistake. That was a hideous one. But apart from that, I like the fact that they kind of end of life, they do different colors. But yeah, it's just on this particular occasion, the colours don't particularly appeal. But exactly as Rich said, Christmas is coming up. And at least if someone's using this with a gadget, it looks like they've matched the colours with
that's probably what it is.
Gadget UE.
It's the gadget blue, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Gadget blue.
So, and as you say, Christmas boxes, are going to be, it's going to be full of these and great. Good for them.
Yeah.
But great products. Forgetting the colour, if you want a cheap little controller, for traveling, for me, they're wonderful. They're really good.
Oh, but don't we want a MIDI port on them, Rich? I mean, don't we want even a mini jack with an adapter? That's the thing that I would like, but they're not going to do that. So,
no,
I grab it.
Have you got one?
I've got, not in pink. In fact, it's still got the MIDI cable hanging off of it. How's that? Yeah, this is the stuff we're talking about, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's just USB. If they did it actually with a MIDI cable rather than just USB, that would be cool. I guess you can plug those directly into
it fits
a USB.
into the quarter-inch of room they've got on the side of this thing to put it. I mean,
But it's interesting though, isn't it?
It becomes bulbous.
But we've all got one. I mean, that's
by the way, I bought this thing and I don't think I've used it 3 times. I know you use yours on every show, but I don't think I've used it 3 times.
I'm using it right now, Rich. Right now, this very second.
Brilliantly, I might add. Brilliantly.
I think the great thing about them is the fact that you stick them in a bag, and the 3 of them together take up absolutely no space whatsoever, realistically, within your travel bag, and and no weight, absolutely no weight. And you look at what they can give you. A keyboard. All the knobs, sliders, and
I will say one thing though: they don't respond very well to spillage. This is the second one that's had a spillage issue. I had to move. I'd taken the cap off the fader because it's sending false data. So I've had to move the volume control across to the next fader. That's the one which has gone. So yeah, but
to be honest, Nick, I don't think that's a fault with the product, Nick.
No, it's not. It's the operator.
Whereas I built my back deck with my Keith McMillan keyboard, and it still works.
Excellent. Power tool, MIDI is power tool. So what's happening next? Well, we haven't really got a topic. There's a topic we can't talk about because it's under embargo, and I feel like I should say that there is a Yamaha product launch that's coming tomorrow.
But can we talk about it because it's out on on musicians.
I can't. Because
you can't, I can.
Go ahead, Ty. You talk about it.
You
can talk about it all day long.
No.
I honestly would feel less comfortable about that because I'm literally meeting.
What did you see in the press, Ty?
Oh,
I
stop
can't
it!
possibly say, Rich, until Nick gives me a go-ahead.
I
If
can't
Nick
say
doesn't want to
anything,
give me a
but
go-ahead-
there is a product launch, and part of the reason I can't say anything is A, I've signed an NDA, and B, because in all the years I can remember, we are being all expenses paid trip to a product launch, which normally, we fund ourselves, okay, we'll get like a free lunch or something out of it. But I'm actually being flown to New York tomorrow morning by Yamaha to go to this special event and see what it is that they're releasing. So people do know what it is, because I wrote to them and said, can I talk about it? Because it's out on the internet. And they said, no, please don't, which is why I'm not talking about it, which makes me feel like a bit of a shill. But I don't want to turn up at the airport and have them go, yeah, you can go home. You're not coming anymore. Because I'm really looking forward to going. I've been to New York for years.
There are other things you can do in New York.
There are other things,
It's a good job that I really like you, Nick. So I won't say anything. I won't say anything.
Phew. My palms can stop sweating now. But yeah, so that's going to be, but it'll all become clear tomorrow, probably when this podcast is out. No, I think it's 6 p.m. tomorrow night, I think, is when it runs. I forget the exact, where is it? There was, I think, Synthopia have run a story that there is an event, and I know they know about it, and they're not doing it. So I wonder if we might see them there. Yeah, here we go. This is the story. Yamaha special event coming Friday. It's not tomorrow. It's Friday.
If we can't go into any of the details about it, and I absolutely appreciate that, all I will say about this particular thing that is coming out is the fact, for the price that is going to be, it's really incredible value. And I think it will sell incredibly well, and I think it's a fantastic product for the money, which the things that they've taken off compared to the bigger version of whatever it may be are so small that Joe Public will absolutely go mad for them, and so they should.
Okay,
that's all I'll say.
That's probably a good thing. Yeah. Well,
so are you now tacitly endorsing a remake of a classic product?
Who, me?
No,
Mr. Onion.
No, I'm not. No, I know what you're thinking.
Oh, okay.
I'm reading your head there, and it's not. No, it's not what you think it is. No.
Okay. All right, guys. Okay, I think I'm gonna have to cut you off, but not because I'm embarrassed and uncomfortable, which I am, but it's because I've got
burned myself.
It's
there.
the school. It's my daughter's school parents' evening, and I'm the parent that can make it. And I am going away for 4 days tomorrow, so I really better not be late, otherwise it will be
absolutely
life not worth living.
You go and give her our best.
Just before we go, I want to say, stay tuned for the UAD stuff. We shot that great thing at Air Studios, and there's an interview with Gannon on the Apollo X stuff. I mean, it's expensive pro things. I mean, I can't afford one, but it's the sort of thing that if you're interested in that stuff, well worth watching for the gory details. And don't forget, of course, we've got the competition where you can win a copy of Isotope's Vocal Synth. We're looking for the hashtag Extreme Vocals and the hashtag Vocal Synth 2 at Sonic State and at Isotope Inc. So I want to say thank you for everybody for joining us. Steve, thank you for joining us from slightly less sunny, but still quite humid and muggy Brighton, where you... what have you got? Have you come back to work? Have you got like a lot on?
Yeah. There's a definite feeling of, back to school at the moment. But that's okay. I'm looking out the window now, and it's grey and rainy, and it's not Spain. Damn.
Oh, well, that's the way it goes sometimes, I suppose. So now I can't even show the chat room because the things are being mentioned in the chat room. Now I'll tell you what. This is the prime. I'm serious for a serious point. This is the prime example why normally I would never sign an NDA, because you end up in these ridiculous situations, and it's only because out of respect for the relationship you have with the manufacturer and the legal document that you then not say anything about it. Whereas it's much easier if it's just like, well, look, if it's in the public domain, and I can't be bothered to read the small print of an NDA to find out whether or not we'd get sued. I mean, life's too short for that kind of stuff. So I'm just putting that out there.
No, and we're just having fun at your expense.
I know you are. Anyway, so and Rich Hilton, thank you very much. And you never know. I don't know what time you get into JFK, but you're leaving JFK, but I might arrive about the same time. Who knows?
I'm leaving very, very early.
No, in that case, no, because I'm leaving at 1 o'clock UK time or 2 o'clock UK time, so I won't be there till the evening. So that's that.
Yeah, I'm leaving very early. You and I are leaving around the same time.
Gotcha. Oh, yes, of course. Right. Well, except yeah, that is early. But Rich, thank you so much for joining us. A pleasure as ever. And we'll see you out in various stages around Europe and the UK, because you're going to be in London for a while, I know. So lovely to have you.
I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for having me, Nick. Great fun.
You're welcome. And also Mr. Ty Unwin. Ty, I think I'm going to put a little kind of nickname in there, and I think it might be Ty the Diplomat Unwin. That's your kind of wrestling name, or whatever it may be, you know.
Nick, total respect for keeping to the end. I honestly appreciate it. So
that's all right. But lovely to have you, and I hope we see you again, and you'll have a bit more free time coming up in the future, because you've taken your foot off the gas a bit, right?
I am.
Just being really busy instead of like stupid busy.
Basically, yeah. Right. So I'll see you again soon, definitely, and thanks for today.
That's a pleasure. So we go to our final Celebrity Squares 4-shot for the final goodbye. Thanks very much for watching. That was Sonic Talk episode, what was it, 549? Good Lord. See you later.
Gold. Bye.
Bye.